What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Above Average Podcast, where we talk to individuals who are above average in mindset and in action. I'm Will. This is Ethan. And today we have a bit of a different guest. And so for those of you that are watching the podcast for the first time, my name is Will Marshall. I run my own business, Marshall Fitness. And today we have one of my clients, Ian Gilbert.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for coming on. So this is something that we talked about a few months ago, you know. And so Ian's he's been a client of Marshall Fitness for a year and
4 days.
4 or 5 days. Yeah. So back about 6 months ago, I think there was a conversation that we had where love to have you on the podcast at some point. And I think you had your own goals about that of when would be the time to come on. And I think, after completing the first full year definitely makes it the right time for sure. Cause you've got a great story and, that's what we're looking to tell today. So, at this point, I guess if you want to take it from the beginning of wherever you think that would be, and then we'll just take it from there.
Yeah. So, my whole life, I kind of used to struggle with being overweight and stuff, especially in high school. I've been up and down many times, just on the scale. Had just a lot of times where I'd go to the gym, be very consistent, maybe 2 months max. And then after that, it'd just fall off. I had no direction or anything. I kind of just would go along, just see what would happen. But more recently, 3 years ago, I was in the hospital. I got COVID real bad. I was on the vet and I was out for 10 days, and I was 23 years old and I was 360 pounds when I went to the hospital. And, that was the big wake up call for me. And, being 23, you think you're invincible, stuff like that. You never worry about what the doctors say, because I'm young, I'll figure it out.
Right.
And then, after that, I ended up, after I got out of the hospital, I kept just gaining weight. I maxed out at 380. And I remember the day vividly. It was January 1st, 2023. It was a night after a New Year's Eve party. I got on the scale the next morning. I saw 380. Just shattered my heart.
Yeah.
To know being 20 pounds from 400, that number, 300 was always embarrassing for me. And just knowing how close I was to being at a point where I felt like it would have been no return. So for 8 months or so, I joined the local gym, started working out, looking up things on just Instagram, social media, stuff like that. And you learn a little bit, but I lost 20 pounds in 8 months. And then I started seeing your posts because I've actually known you for a little while, so I always followed you. And there was one post, it was just about it was about former athletes just getting in shape, which I think you always post.
That's thing.
Your good.
Yeah, it's my MO.
And I don't know, that it just stuck out to me. So I just hit on the post, and then Will reached out to me. So I was hoping you would whenever I liked it. So, yeah. And then, so it was the first 8 months alone, I lost 20 pounds. And then 4 months with you, I lost 20 pounds. I was oh, this is pretty, this is a system that's actually working here for me. And the big thing too was learning about all the nutrition too. You can go to the gym and you can Google workouts and, you can keep putting up numbers, but if you're not eating right, it really doesn't matter.
Sure.
I never understood macronutrients and stuff like that. That always seemed such a big science that I'm not supposed to understand.
Right.
And then we had 2 Zoom calls, and I felt after that, I felt I completely understood everything.
It is simple. When you're on the outside looking in, it's something that's I understand what you're saying. I was probably in the same boat where I was I feel there's more that I need to know in order to understand this. But then when you really look at it, it's very clear cut. But I think that's the thing that prevents people from learning about it, because they think there's more to it. How can it be this simple? When in reality, it is, And so I wanted to ask you this because I've never asked you this question before. So going back, when you were in the hospital, you said you were on the ventilator.
Yeah.
So were you, so when you say you were out, you were in it was a
medically induced.
It was a medically induced coma. Okay. So I never, I always wondered about that. If that was something where you were just really sick and then you went to the hospital and then they were okay, we're going to induce this coma, or if you just woke up 10 days later and were what happened?
Yeah. So I got COVID September 3rd, 2021. So almost 3 years ago. Exactly.
Yeah.
And, at first, like I tested positive. I just kind of felt groggy and stuff. And, it just felt like a little flu at first. And then like more and more, I would just do less and less. Like I was living at my college apartment at the time. And like I was with my girlfriend at the time, I couldn't do anything. Like I just was doing less and less, and I'd be home alone. Got to the point where I had to like call someone. I was like, I need to come home. Like I went home to my parents because I was like, I need someone to take care of me because I can't do anything. I drove home from an hour away to my parents' house, which felt like, felt like a risk to me.
Sure.
But, and then, I would probably just eat like, I couldn't stomach any food. Like I'd eat like pineapple and like cantaloupe. That was like all I could stomach. And I'd probably just sleep like for like 20 hours a day for like 3 days or so.
Jeez.
And then my mom had one of those pulse oxes that you put on your finger. And I think the number got to like in the low 80s, almost 70, I think, 70s. Like that's like the dangers.
Yeah, it's not supposed to be below what, like 98. I mean,
typically like I think 97 is like what I'm typically, which is like a good, like, when you're at a doctor's appointment and stuff. But like whenever it's that low, it's just nothing, like you can't like understand anything going on.
Yeah.
Your brain's just completely shot.
Yeah.
So I got in an ambulance, went to a couple hospitals because at the time it was hard to get into the hospital.
Right.
And ended up in Shadyside, and I was there for probably like 2 days, and I couldn't tell you a single thing like from memory about anything happening. Like a lot of the stuff I'm telling you right now is just from what my parents told me because they were there every step of the way. I couldn't even tell you what I did like the days leading up to me having COVID because like it just, I just forgot everything.
Yeah.
I do remember they woke me up at 6 a.m. and it was on September, I think 12th or something like that. And whenever they woke me up at 6 a.m., they said, you have to go on the ventilator. And I was like, it was, I felt like, I just got stabbed in the heart because to me, that felt like I was being told I was going to die.
Yeah.
And I was like, can't do anything here until my parents get here. So, waited, talked them through. I was like, all right, I guess this is what we have to do. So said a prayer, woke up 10 days later.
Whoa.
And it's funny because the day I woke up was the day I graduated from one of my schools. So it was like, weird to wake up to that and like just see everything going on. Like, but
yeah, dude, I mean, we never talked about it in detail. Like I knew it was a thing. I knew it happened. And I found out, 2 years ago from like Tyler told me, and he told me like just factually, but like there was no background or anything like that.
Not a lot of people really knew like when it was going on. A lot of my close friends knew, like, because my parents would kind of like talk to them and just like word would kind of spread, but no one really knew what was going on.
Yeah.
And like even to this day, I haven't talked a ton about it outside of like my close friend group. And it was such a humbling experience, honestly. Like to be, it's a sign that you're not invincible and you got to work on your life.
Right.
If I had not been the weight I was, that probably wouldn't have been a big deal. Like I actually got COVID like 5 months ago, I think.
Oh yeah.
And
I
texted you. I said, hey, I got COVID. I'm going to take a couple days off. It was like a breeze.
Yeah.
Like it was like, this is nothing compared to the first time. Because I was scared when I got it then too. Because I was like,
I was gonna say,
But no, I think I slept for like 2 days, and then like I took a couple extra days off from the gym just to be safe, like, and not wear myself out. And then I think it was like by the next Monday I was back at it.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, that's heavy.
Yeah.
But that's where it begins.
Yeah.
Right. And
it's not the wake up call everyone should have.
No, right. And so I think, we're talking about nutrition and all that type of stuff. And before we get into, I think, like to hear your maybe perspective on the program itself and like all the things that are included with that. But before we go there, in the past, like you worked with in-person trainers, right? And so that was, how long ago was that?
So I did it most of high school. I graduated in 2016. I had a couple different trainers. I had one at the end in 2016 that I worked really well with. He actually did help me lose a lot of the weight, but it was mostly like he would give me nutritional advice, but it wasn't like, that wasn't his job. I had like a couple other trainers. Like it would be kind of more so like a social time in a way. Like, I mean, like, because my thing was I was like afraid of going to the gym alone, because it's like when you're not like used to a gym environment, it can be intimidating.
Sure.
But like, you know, looking back now, like the gym's the most comfortable place I ever feel like I'm at. Like I just recently joined a public gym again, just to like kind of get the social interaction back.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually the nicest people you'll ever meet are in the gym.
Yeah. I think it's crazy. And I don't know if I had that experience myself with like being uncomfortable in the gym, because my introduction to the gym was during college. So like I had to be there no matter what. And it's, you know, everyone is kind of learning at the same time. So you're not really surrounded by the people that you think are judging you because it's all your teammates, you know. But that is something that I hear a lot just with, you know, my own clients, is like how comfortable people then like go from being completely uncomfortable to being comfortable in the gym. And it's funny because, you know, I mean, we see each other because, I mean, you live in Pittsburgh, so we've seen each other here and there. And I mean, we have known each other for a while. You're the same age as my brother?
We graduated together.
Okay, yeah.
And
so I mean,
a couple of your high school friends I lived with in college.
Right, yeah. So there's a lot of like, you know, strong connections there. And but throughout this whole process, I mean, we have never been in the gym together once.
No, just we just did that 5K that one time.
Right, 5K. Yeah, which we were just talking about that too.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so I mean, I think, okay, so the last time you worked with an in-person trainer, that was in high school?
Yeah, and then I did a little bit in college, like in the summer. The summer after college, he was at his like a private facility, and I was there just for a few weeks, and you know, it was a good time. And you know, then he ended up going into a different career path too. So
Yeah.
I didn't really go any further than that.
Sure. So what would you say to somebody that, because I hear this all the time too, where, you know, when people are just maybe reaching out to me and they think that I train people in person, and they're like, where are you located? And I'm like, well, nowhere, you know, everywhere, but nowhere. And I think that's a really common thing in the very beginning with some people. They're like, I need to go somewhere where I'm going to see someone in person because it's going to hold me accountable. But like to what you're saying, like it ends up being like maybe in the first couple sessions, you're going to learn some things. You're going to learn your way around the gym, how to use machines, whatever. Like that is valuable. I don't, you know, disagree with that. But at the same time, like you can learn that stuff by trial and error. Like, yeah, you're going to be a little uncomfortable in the beginning, but you can figure it out yourself. What would you say to people that, you know, think they need an in-person trainer versus what you've done where we've never been together in the gym once?
So, I mean, realistically, for my lifestyle, I have a job where I work around the clock at unknown hours sometimes. Like you've probably seen me log workouts at 6 a.m., 9 p.m., all over in between. So honestly, for me, not having to meet you weekly, daily at a certain time is very easy for me, because, you know, I'd hate, you know, we'd have a 4 o'clock gym session if you were an in-person trainer. I'd probably would have canceled on you dozens of times because of work.
Makes my life easier too.
Yeah. And you know, that was the thing too. Whenever I used to have an in-person trainer, I would cancel a lot, like probably like once every 2 weeks, I would cancel a session, and then you lose that session too.
Right.
And, you know, it's not that I didn't want to go to the gym. Sometimes I didn't want to go, and that's a big mental thing you got to fight through. But, you know, other times it's just outside factors. Like it's just not always realistic to work out. Like I know recently we started incorporating, since I joined a public gym, you gave me one of the workout days is to go to that gym. And you've probably seen I do the workouts out of order sometimes because, you know, that's supposed to be like an end of the week. Sometimes I don't have time to go at the end of the week, so I'll go on a Monday just to get it out of the way.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's very flexible for me. And, you know, kind of it can be more powerful to have the flexibility with a virtual trainer than to have an in-person one, because, you know, if you have the workouts ready to do, you do them on your time. You know, it's just up to you to make the time.
Yeah. And I do think that there's a component there where I think it's a self-limiting belief for a lot of people at the end of the day, where they're like, no, I need someone in person, because then they think they're going to go. But I mean, to your point, you could just cancel. And then if I was working in person and people were canceling sessions on me, I'd be mad. I mean, yeah, trainers have there are things set in place where they're still going to get paid, but it's not that easy to get space in a gym, unless you're living somewhere like here where you have a fully stocked gym across the street. But I mean, I went from training people in my parents' garage, and I had a pretty consistent group that came, but it was also during the pandemic and no one was doing anything. So they had time, middle of the day to come meet me whenever. But I mean, now, like, you've got to go, like, a trainer has to rent space in a gym if they want to do that. And then the people come up and then they're still paying for the time, the trainer is, but then if no one comes, then it's like, well, now what, And so that was kind of the whole reason behind why I designed it the way I did, because then I can reach way more people and have a lot more influence over what they do without having to see them all the time. And of course, there is that that self-motivation that comes with it. And I think I help with that. But at the end of the day, you have to want it. I can't make anybody want to do anything. And I mean, in person, you can't make anyone want to do anything either. I mean, I had somebody that I used to work with in person that used to work with me once a week. They didn't do anything else outside of that. And I was like, listen, what are we doing here? Like, do you just like talking to me? Like, because I mean, that's fine. Like, if it's just a social thing, that's cool. But I mean, you're spending $100 a week to come do one session and not do anything else. Like, you're not really changing anything, And so having the full plan from start to finish, and then all you got to do is do it. Like, that's my goal, is like, what would this look like if it were easy?
Right.
Just follow the plan, you get the results.
Well, and like, I think I can understand, and this has only happened to me like once. So like, you had asked me before we were on what my background was, right? And, just grew up gyms, working out things. Like, that was just my life. And only one time I've experienced going into a place where I was like, oh, I'm actually a little bit intimidated, like uncomfortable in a gym environment. And it was going to jiu-jitsu. So like, I'd just been to so many different powerlifting gyms or whatever. Like, it's never fazed me that people could feel uncomfortable. And then I went to that gym, and for some reason, I just was like a little uncomfortable. And I was like, I don't know why I am. I think it's because everybody here can kick my ass. Like, and actually they can. A gym, it's like, you don't know what people can do, really. And so that's like the only little bit of like time I've been like, oh man, I can't fathom every time I've been into every gym feeling that way. And that would be, kind of brutal to just always have that preconceived notion of it being like daunting, And I think doing online, it seems to be like that's such a good starting point that people might not really think about as a good starting point, because then he can build programs not in a gym. And I think that's kind of a superpower to say, well, you get yourself in a place where you have like that self-beliefs built up, and then you go into a place and you have a better, idea of what you'd actually want to do, because you have an idea of where you're at currently, instead of like starting at ground zero and then going into a gym. The first dude you see is yoked and a shaved head and huge. And then it's like, oh man, I might as well just go home today. Like, I could see why people get to that point. So I think it's like kind of like online training seems to be like a superpower, and we have the luxury of communication online, that it's possible to get contact with anybody to like get you there,
Yeah. I talk to Will more than like I feel like most people I know, because I text you all.
We talk all the time, yeah.
It's more than just like do your workouts. We'll catch up at the end of the week. There's like, I'll have random questions almost daily sometimes that I always go to you, just feel like, hey, like, what's going on? What should I do here? Like, or like, I'm always like, we're always kind of refining my goals too. Like, and when you were talking about like going to like a jiu-jitsu gym, going to like out of your comfort zone, one of the things we were talking about doing too is I said I wanted to like try, like, I just put a random number. I said I want to try like 5 different types of workouts, like, go to different classes, because the past year with Will, the whole like the main goal is just the weight loss with building muscle. And it's been like, at this point, like, we're almost to the point where I feel like I can have like a blank canvas just to start in any direction I want. So I've been trying all sorts of different just new activities just to see what I like, because I said at the end of year 2, I said maybe I'd like to have a focus specifically for what kind of fitness I want to do.
Yeah. I think with the online model too, what makes the most sense from a like autonomy perspective and then longevity is to have a trainer that is involved, but like almost as little as possible, in the sense of like when you have an in-person trainer, like I think that creates dependence sometimes where people, you know, if that trainer moves away or they become unavailable for whatever reason, do all your clients then stop working out? Because then it's like, well, what's the point? You know, because it's unrealistic to assume that anyone is going to work with a trainer for a decade or 5 years, you know, and there's people that do, but at the end of the day, like it's yours. Like it's what you're doing in the gym is it's your journey. It's, you know, it's a part of your life. And so then if you're determining when you do it based on somebody else also doing it with you, like it's going to create a difficulty in there at sometimes, you know? And so what my goal is to like help you, you know, figure out why you're doing it, and then also establish the routines and education just of like what you need to do so that eventually, you know, you don't need me anymore, which like some people say, like I had when I was at the Hounds, our assistant coach said to me, he was like, you're going to be like obsolete to a lot of people at some point. I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of the point. You know, like it doesn't make sense to, like, I think I'm doing people a disservice if I'm making them dependent on me forever, because then they're not really being helped in the way that they need to be, you know? And yeah, it's great. I mean, for business, like if someone works with me for 4 or 5 years, it's awesome because I got a steady client that I know is always going to be there. But at the same time, like, is that going to be the best thing for them over the long term? I mean, maybe. Like I've got my first ever client, Dan. Like he's been with me for 4 years, like since the very beginning. I just looked the other day. I went back in my Instagram archives and I had a story that I shared from him. And it was a picture of his weight room and it said first workout with Marshall Fitness. And it was like September 2020. And he's still with me now. And for him, it's not about, you know, he doesn't really need to know anything else. Like he's done it, but he doesn't want to have to think about it for himself. And so I still create his programming. You know, he still knows that he is investing into himself and that holds him accountable. And that's all fine and good. That's great. But if he wanted to ever go off on his own, he could, because he knows what he needs to do. And I think that's the goal at the end of the day for me. Before we dive back in, we want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors, 111 Juice Bar, located on Carson Street by the GNC, LA Fitness, and Southside Works. They give us free juice every time we do a podcast, and I'm grateful for that. So you want to crack yours up and give that a shot? You haven't tried it yet, have you?
This is the only reason I'm here.
Oh, yeah. That's the only reason I'm here. This one's new. I think that one's also brand new. This is the Ugly Duckling.
Pearberry.
Yeah, that's not what I thought it was going to taste like based on the color, but that's pretty good.
It's refreshing.
What do you think of that? It's good, right?
I like it.
Yeah.
Might have to stop during the way.
Dude, when we did a podcast with, I think it might have been yours when Mark was co-hosting, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, it was. I just saw the clip the other day when he was talking about rolling around. Yeah. And we had the juice, and he tried, it was his first time ever trying like hard pressed juice, and he was like, dude, this is amazing. And there's a lot of work that goes into juicing. I don't know if juicing on your own is worth it, because you got to buy so much produce to make this.
Yeah.
But I mean, the stuff is fantastic. If I could find a way to drink that every day, I would. But
and it's the equipment too that you need to do the cold press.
100%.
I looked into it and I was like, never mind.
Yeah, it's so much work. Yeah. But anyway, getting back into it. So back at the beginning when we started, so we went through the initial process, and in talking about, you know, you said you liked one of my posts and I sent you a message. And it's funny to bring that up too, because I do that a lot where, you know, people interact with my posts and I'll just send them a DM and just be like, hey, you know, thanks for liking my post. How's everything going? Like, I mean, I know you. So I was like, you know, how you been? Other people, I'm like, you know, I don't know this person. Like, you know, are they liking my post just to show support? Are they, you know, interested in personal training or whatever? Because there is an element to it where people won't, like, some people would never reach out on their own. Like, they need like a little nudge. And I've had clients, even recently, Mark Colby, him and his girlfriend or fiance Amanda live in Baltimore, I think, somewhere in Maryland. And I sent him a message because he followed me on Facebook, and I was just like, "Hey man, how you doing? Like, I see you follow me. What's going on?" And then he became a client, and he said to me, he was like, "I would have never done this if you wouldn't have reached out to me first." And so that was kind of how that started. And then, you know, we got things rolling. And so what would you say when we got going, like what were your initial goals? Like what were your initial expectations?
Yeah, I mean, well, first off, when I told you, I think we talked on Zoom about it. I was like, I said, if you didn't message me after that first, I said I would have just kept liking your stuff. You did.
And eventually I would have.
Because, it's easier, like, for me to not break the ice, even though I know you.
Yeah.
I didn't know you well. Like, I knew your brother and, like, other people.
Right.
Like, I knew you enough that I felt comfortable around you. But, yeah, like, with my initial expectations, I just... I knew you had a very strong background, and like, I know you, your family, like everyone, your friends, like everyone's in great shape that and that's a part of it. Like it's the people you surround yourself with too that has an influence on like how your lifestyle is, and like I know just from knowing you, I always knew you were like a very positive and like very strong person.
I appreciate it.
But like, no, I felt like, I don't know. I just kind of dove headfirst into it, I feel like. And like, I just felt confident enough. I was like, I have a good feeling about this. Like, if it wouldn't have worked out, then whatever. But, I didn't even think that it wouldn't work out. Like, I knew something needed to change. And even if I knew you'd get me rolling one way or another.
Yeah.
And once like we started meeting on like, had a couple Zoom meetings, we had like some group meetings, and you were giving us all this information. I didn't know I signed up for like all this education, which like, that's like a secret benefit.
Yeah.
Like I learned so much to the point, like there's weeks where I won't log my nutrition and I still lose weight now because like, it's just so ingrained into my head of like what to do like on a weekly basis. Like, it's just the routines. Like it's hard to talk about like beforehand now because like, it's just so like normal for me now.
Yeah.
But I think one of the first things I texted you too is like, with the virtual stuff too, like you were explaining how it works to me. And it's like, at the end of the day, like if I'm not doing anything, I'm just wasting your time and I'm wasting my money. And like, that's two things I wouldn't want to do. And, there's been weeks where, I told you in the beginning, like I'd go to the gym for 2 months, I'd quit. There's probably, I think 2 or 3 times that since we've been working together where like you had to reach out and like, give me that extra push. The first time that ever happened, I think it was like 2 or 3 months into it. I skipped like maybe almost 2 weeks of workouts. Or
it was, I think I remember it was a week. I don't think it was that long because I think it was almost like the start of the week. And then I started to notice because I get notifications every time you complete a workout. When you hit that save button, it comes straight to my phone. And I mean, I have so many people now, and like I know generally like how many workouts people should be doing, but there's no way for me to know necessarily if someone's hitting all 4 all the time. But as long as there's like a touch point, then I'm like, okay, like we're still in it. And I think for you, it was days had gone by. I think it was 4 to 5 days, maybe a full week.
It was there was a check-in between that, so it was like I missed like I think probably the last 3 days of the previous week. Monday we checked in. I said, hey, I'm going to fix it this week. And then it was like Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yes.
And you just sent me a text, said, we should schedule a meeting.
Yeah.
And I told you, I said, I feel like I'm being called to the principal's office.
Yeah. And then we got on that call. And I remember, I think it was a Wednesday or a Thursday. And like there had been no workouts for that week yet. And I remember the way you looked on the call too, because I could see it. And like I tell the story all the time of a couple of years ago, I had clients and it was I did things very differently back then where the app that I have wasn't the same one where you had the automated check-in, and it was more so through Facebook. Like I used to do this where I would put the check-in questions in a Facebook post, and everyone would check in based on like a comment. And then I think a lot of people maybe were not put off by it, but they wanted it to be a little bit more personal because like if they had to put personal information in there, they didn't want to blast it to the whole group, which I understand. And so this client, like I'm blowing this dude up. I'm like texting him, calling him, Facebook, Instagram, everything. And he finally answers my call and he's like, sorry, man, like I missed a bunch of workouts. I thought you were going to be mad at me. And I'm like, no, like I'm the person you tell, like I'm never going to be mad because I'm still going to, I mean, it's not like you not doing workouts affects me not doing workouts. Like I'm still going to do my stuff. Like, but like the whole point of you being here is to then rely on me to get you going again.
Mm.
And, yeah, we got on that call and I remember I almost felt like I could feel what you were expecting me to react. And It wasn't, I mean, it wasn't like that at all. I mean,
I think it was one of the most positive calls we ever had.
Yeah.
To be honest, like, cause that was the first, like, you know, stop in the road for me. And like, usually, I think I told you, I was like, this is usually like, it was like probably a week later after I got back into the rhythm. I was like, that was usually like where I'd stop. Like I would just go back to not going to the gym, not caring. Like, you know, I just lost interest maybe, or just, I don't know. I mean, it's so easy to do everything but go to the gym.
Right. It's always easy to do nothing.
Yeah.
And that's with everything. Yeah. And I think with, you know, one of the main points about that is, I think when people get to that point where they miss a few days and they feel like it's over, like it's like, oh, I missed a couple workouts, I'm done. It's almost like that the momentum goes to zero. And then there's that feeling, and like I've felt that before. I'm like, when's it gonna come back? Like, when am I gonna enjoy this again, or something? Or when am I gonna feel that rhythm? And I had a problem with that in college, like where I was like, you know, I had spent so much time in the weight room, and then I remember that first time I felt like, I was like, I don't really feel like doing this, and then I was concerned because I was like, I built up this like persona of being the dude on the team that's like always wanted to get after it in the gym, and now I all of a sudden don't feel like doing that. And it was concerning because it was like an identity crisis. I was like, what the, like, this is who I am now. And then now, like, I understand that that's just a part of it. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, you could be, you know, training for something that's like, extremely, you know, highly visible, like, you know, major events, national stage, whatever. And like, you could still have those moments. And it's not something that ever goes away. You just learn to deal with it. And so I think that too was almost like a, you know, you call it a reset, where it was like, you know, it's not over. You're not dead. Like, it's like you just have to get that first one back in. And I think that was, and then you went 4 for 4 to finish the week.
Yeah.
Like, it was like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, got them all in there, back to normal.
Yeah. I'm on a hot streak right now, actually.
Yeah.
You know, we always talk about momentum. It's just a recurring topic.
It is.
Whenever we talk to each other. And like, the past, like, you know, I hit my main goal just at the beginning of the month, right before my birthday. And ever since then, like, you know, I decided, like, we made an Instagram post together. I was like, I want to start talking more about this. Like, I don't care if the world doesn't hear my story or anything, but like, at least the people I know and care about, like, I want them to know what's going on, like, you know, just on a local level. And, you know, I've been getting a lot of like compliments, and people have been reaching out, and like, that's really kept me going. Like, the last few weeks, like, I've been putting in like more than, you know, even what's needed. Like, I've been doing like running and stuff extra on the side now. Like, I think like last week I was like averaging 90-minute workouts, which is like, didn't make sense I was like, I never like worked out this hard ever before. But, and I texted you, I was like, am I doing too much? And you were like, just ride the momentum.
Yeah. I mean, ride it out. As long as you can recover from it, you're good.
Yeah.
You know? And, so I mean, talking about your main goal. So, I mean, let's talk about that. Like, so when you started, you were at what? Like, with me?
With you, I was at 360, but I always give you the credit at 380, because without you, I would have been back there. Because I was starting to fail on my own before, like, whenever we started talking.
Yeah.
And I think we probably discussed that. I was like, I know what I'm kind of doing. Like I said, I'm seeing my own progress, but it's not like going how I want it to. And then like, there'll be weeks where, you know, the weight fluctuations, especially when you're that, like, at 380, like, you can gain and lose 10 pounds in like a day, and it just doesn't make sense. And like, you know, that's a thing that I actually still struggled with learning until very recently. Like, I'm a lot more comfortable now seeing those fluctuations, because there's days like, if I go out and just left this podcast right now, went to get hot wings somewhere, like, I'd probably see a number that's crazy at the, like, tomorrow morning. Yeah. Like, that wouldn't scare me, because I know I'd get back down to it now. But it's just a problem of like, when you see that number, you can't give up. You just got to be like, all right, this is maybe a slight error that I made, or, you know, sometimes you deserve to eat good too. Yeah,
no, I mean, I that's another thing that I think I try to talk about a lot, is like, you should never really feel like you can't do that. You know, like, there's going to be, because it goes back to that, what's realistic, what's going to be sustainable, you know, and it's not realistic or sustainable to think that you're never going to have those times again. And, you know, it's a part of it, and you have to figure out how you're going to manage it over the long term. People always around the holidays, they're like, I don't know if I should start yet, because, you know, Christmas is in a month. I'm like, well, it's a day. It's maybe 2 days if you celebrate Christmas Eve. like what's going to happen next year when you come back around Christmas Eve and Christmas Day again? You're going to have the same thing. You're going to stop again? No, like you just have to figure out how you're going to approach it. And so the main goal, what was the main goal?
For past year? $299.
So went from 360, 299, what, 3 days before your birthday?
Yeah, and no, it was the day before.
Day before.
I texted you. I said the day that I hit the goal.
Yeah, got my ass too, man. I was like, what?
I texted him. I was like, I'm gonna mess with him because I was very excited. And I texted him. I said, hey man, I'm not hitting 299 today. And then I sent him a picture of my scale. It said 297. And I said, because I passed it.
Yeah, I smashed it. I remember where I was. I was sitting at the pool. It was like a Sunday. And I saw that come through and I was like, oh, well, and I was more concerned about like your mentality towards it because I was like, because in my mind, I was like, well, it's all right. We're just going to hit it next week.
Yeah.
Like it's going to come because we're right there. Like we're knocking on the door.
Yeah.
And then when you sent that other text, I was like, oh, okay. All right. I was like, cause I knew, I was like, after this year, I was like, you gotta know like what I would say.
Yeah.
Right. And so then when you said that, I was like, all right, yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Cause cause the weeks leading up, like those like 3 weeks before I hit the goal, those weeks were so hard because I don't know, maybe it was in my head that I was so close and like I kept getting very close. I'd be like a pound off, a half pound off. And I'd be like, I just wasn't at that number. I mean, I was very happy with where I was at, but I also wasn't because I was like, I'm so close to the number I need to see. And then the day I never hit 299, I passed it. Like that was kind of cool. Like,
yeah.
What you had mentioned this when we were off from the podcast too. What other parts of your life have you noticed change? Because I find that very interesting because you were talking a little bit about some parts of the mindset, like seeing a number and a goal with the mindset behind it, can kind of alter it, and those few weeks leading up to it kind of alter it. But like, what else is like kind of like resonated out in your life to your other people around you, or like what's been lifted from this too?
Yeah, I mean, like I could give you a whole like laundry list of so many things that changed, but like, I mean, the main thing is like the confidence in like myself, like, just going out, meeting like any people, just feeling really good. Like if I'm like in like a fitness setting too, like I've actually been like just random people, you talk to random people at gyms sometimes. I was telling people like my story, complete strangers, and like, just seeing how like they react to it and like thinking how cool it is. Like it's, it's very uplifting. But like, I mean, honestly, like every aspect of my life is a lot easier. Like waking up every day, like, rolling out of bed's not as hard as it used to be. Or like I have to walk up 3 flights of stairs to go to my office at work. And that used to suck. Now I can go up no problem. Just, it's just like little things like that. But, I think it's just like my overall like mental health is the most that improved. And honestly, that's the most worth it of everything that we've done. But like, and then there's things we also talk about, like a lot of financial stuff is also like a benefit of like, cause when you're watching what you eat, you're watching like what you spend on food and stuff like that too. So like I've even like, sort of like sorted out finances and stuff. Like while I texted Will, I was like, this is weird, but like, I feel like this is like helping me financially in a way too.
I mean, like some parts, like, I mean, some people that, I do this, not like some people, but like you spend a lot of money going out to eat. And if you're restricted on a certain amount of food, like you're just not gonna spend money going out to eat as much. You just won't be able to, cause you're going to restrict like that, that part of your income being used, but yeah, I mean, like it's interesting because like, I think way more people resonate with like even hearing a little bit about your story than like us do. Like I've been an athlete my whole life, and I think it's just like almost hard for someone to like say, well, you've always been like good at lifting. And I'm like, yeah, but I work on my weaknesses, but my weaknesses are just like, they're so like niche now. It's like, oh, I'm like working on weighted muscle ups. That's just the weirdest thing to work on that nobody, that just seems like, well, he's always been in shape. So I think it's nice to hear your story because I bet the more that you do talk about it, I bet it will influence people more than me and him ever could.
Yeah. Like it's like just even like random comments. Like someone 2 weeks ago told me, they were like, you have such a like new glow to you. And like, I was like, oh, that was like such a good compliment.
Yeah.
Like made my whole week.
Yeah.
I'm still talking about it now.
Yeah.
But like, I wish I remember who said that, but like, it was like just hearing things like that all the time. And then there was one time I work with like a lot of like first responders, stuff like that. And I texted you this as soon as it was said to me.
Yeah.
One of the cops that I was working with, he told me, he said I was the talk of the town. And I was like, are you serious? Like, so it's like, it's just hearing things like that. Like, it's like, there's a lot of people like if there's a coffee shop I go to regularly, like there's like these group of like older ladies that are always like asking me about my journey. They're like, you're doing so good. Like I got like, that's like my little fan club there. When I walk in.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. It's like a local celebrity over here.
Yeah. It's huge. And I think it's, we talked about this when you said you were going to start posting about it more, but like you never know who's watching. Mm-hmm. And it's something that, and this is like for me, it's a business thing too, but when I'm posting stuff, like I never really know who's seeing it and who's resonating with it unless they like, make it a point to acknowledge that. And so in, the situation you're in with all the progress that you've made, like there's so many people there's probably twice the amount of people that have noticed and they've, they've thought about it, like without even telling you. And, some of those people, that might just be the initial thought of like, oh, I should do something like that. And that might just plant the seed, it might still take them 6 months or a year to act on it. But, it's something to be said about like your network and like who you're affecting. Cause you really just can't know. And it is a positive, it's like you are positively affecting the people around you without even realizing it a lot of the time.
And, I feel blessed to say I do have like a very great support group of like close friends and family, but some of the most meaningful things I've gotten were from people that I vaguely know. Mm-hmm. I was at a wedding like 2 months ago. Someone that I kind of knew, didn't really know too well, sitting by me. And he was like, hey, I've been watching everything you've been doing with Will. And like, it's just like, because you expect your family and your close friends to always support you, but like just hearing people that you don't know like too well reach out and say things like, it's like, okay, this is actually like making a big difference. Like, because your family and friends, they see you every day. They don't always see someone from the outside really sees the change.
For sure.
And like, that's what, makes you really appreciate everything that you've done, is like just hearing like how significantly different. And one of my friends was one of your clients, and like we were talking when I think halfway through as I was making some significant progress, and we were talking, we were friends in college and stuff. And he was like, I said, let's be honest in this conversation here. And he was like saying like, he's like, yeah, you were like in good shape when we first met. And then like, things were going downhill. And he looked at one of my like Instagram posts one time. He was like, what happened? And I said, honestly, thank you for like saying that. Cause like realistically, that's probably what a lot of people would think when when you're like letting yourself go and stuff. But like your close friends and stuff, they're not going to say anything. They don't want to put you down or anything.
Yeah.
Like that. And then like, but he was like, it was amazing just to see all like the changes that you've made. So.
Yeah. Dude, I hear it too. I mean, I go, cause like we said in the beginning, like a lot of my good friends are people that you also know like fairly well. And recently I went to it was just a get together at someone's house, and it was a bunch of Sarah people, Sarah Catholic, where he went to high school. And everyone's saying like, dude, Ian looks awesome, like he's been fucking crushing it, and there's like everything you're doing with him, it's amazing. And then 2 weeks later, similar group of people, not the same people, like they're bringing it up again to me. And I mean, again, it's like these are people that probably like maybe you haven't seen, but like they're still like, they're not telling you that, but they're seeing it.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's the first you're telling me this.
Yeah,
That's pretty exciting.
I saved it for a reason. Yeah, and it's the same. It's like that squad, like like Koval and like Rudy Fetzko and like all people that you maybe didn't know super well, maybe in high school or whatever, but like in all RMU connected somehow. And
at our high school, everyone knew everyone, even if you didn't want to know everyone.
Right.
Because we were so small.
80 people.
75 people, I think. So it's like, everyone knew you too well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was just talking to people yesterday, and I said I went to Sarah, and they started name dropping. I said, I literally know everyone at Sarah. I said, whether we were friends or not, we all know each other.
Yeah. So, yeah, but they're seeing it, and people are stoked, and it's cool. And I can say selfishly, like I'm like, yeah, that's good for me. But like it's, at the end of the day, like it really is about, like all the things that you say, like how your life has changed. Like those are things that I can only hope for. And when they do happen, it's amazing. But from the beginning, what we were saying, it's like you put in the work. Like I facilitated it for sure. And I won't deny that because that's literally what I do. Mm-hmm. But you have to want it. So, I mean, it's there's assistance, there's support, but like you're making it happen.
Yeah.
And that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm. It's a big mental game too. You really have to fight yourself sometimes.
For sure.
Sometimes it's tough to, I think I was telling my roommate one time, I was just on the couch, just watching whatever on TV. And I was like, I don't want to work out today. And then I got up, I said, I looked at him, I said, I don't want to go to the gym right now, but I'm going to walk downstairs and go to the gym because if I get in there, the second I start the first set, I'll be so happy I started it. Cause that first set is the hardest one to start.
Always.
And then like, once you finish it, you keep going.
Yeah. No, it's the thing. There's resistance there. Like I hate warming up. Warming up is the worst. Mm-hmm. It feels horrible.
You got to do it more.
But you have to do it. Yeah. And then once I'm through that, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm good to go.
Yeah. I recently had to start stretching more. How much I've been doing lately. Cause if I don't stretch now, like that was nothing. I used to always just go right into it. Now it's like, if I don't do that, I'm going to be out like the next day.
Yeah. So, gotta limber up.
Plans right now for like what I want to post, but like I've been brainstorming things like with just like my family, like friends and stuff, like things to post. Like one of my college buddies is a video editor, and I was like, I said, you want to come out of retirement and just do some reels for me or something?
Yeah.
Because I have some ideas and I'll tell you about them after. But just I just want to record my progress because you see all these really cool videos. Uh-huh. You see like a guy that's like super obese and like and then like he just like snaps his fingers and he's got like 6-pack going.
Yeah.
It's like, I was like, that'd be something cool to like try.
Yeah. You got to have like the thought to do it early. Cause a lot of times people don't do that. Like they won't start recording at the very beginning in case there's like, I think that can be helpful. Like when you record at the beginning, because then it gives you, it's a little extra bit of motivation, but people won't because they're like, oh, well then if I fail, then it's no big deal because I didn't really like dive in 100%.
Yeah. There's this like Russian guy that I follow.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
He has so many videos when he was out of shape. Mm-hmm. It's like amazing.
Spanning like 3 years.
Yeah. And it's like, when we first started, I hated taking like, I had to do the baseline photos and like, I gotta, it's, you didn't tell me I had to, but I gotta take the photos without my shirt just so like I can see now and then. I hated taking my shirt off. And it's like, now I'm starting to get more and more comfortable. Like, I wouldn't say I'm 100% going to go tarps off anytime soon, but like, as like that guy, I respect that he had the confidence to pre-record all those, like he knew. And it's like, when you start out, I was like, I felt confident, but I didn't know like if I was going to be actually here a year from now with the progress I made.
Yeah.
Cause it's just what you make of it.
Right.
So, fortunately it's been working.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, where did your interest in running come into play? So you were kind of saying that you were like building a base of just kind of like getting into a shape to be able to pick, kind of where you want to take it. So are you saying running goals or are you just like adding this?
So actually recently I started, so we did the 5K in, when was that? April or so?
Yes. Sometime in the spring.
You posted about it, and then I have a cousin that just also got into running, and she like asked me to go do it too. And it actually just happens to be right where I live and work, where the 5K was. So I was like, okay, this will be a nice like community thing. Like just try it out. Like, I used to be in middle school. I would skip the mile. Like, we all had to run the mile for like the presidential fitness thing. I skipped it. I almost failed gym from skipping it.
Wow.
Cause I hated running. And I like for a while I still did, but just to get out of that comfort zone, like whenever we finished that 5K, that was one of the most rewarding moments, like in all of our training, like just to do something I couldn't conceive doing. And like, I didn't have like a set. I think we talked a little bit about it. I didn't have a goal. I just wanted to complete it.
Yeah. I think
like,
you want to finish under an hour.
I was like, when I started like running beforehand, I couldn't do like anything lower than like a 17-minute mile. And like, cause like, I also didn't understand a lot of like the logistics of running with like keeping your pace, like understanding your pace, stuff like that. So, I go full force for like 30 seconds and then I had to walk the rest of it because like I just didn't know what I was doing. And yeah, so I was like, yeah, I was like, it'd be cool to be under an hour. And I think it was like 46.
Yeah,
45. It was
right around there.
right around 45, 46 minutes. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then like a month later, I signed up for the Pittsburgh 5K, which I had like that marathon weekend. Like it was like, it's the day before the marathon. That was like such a fun time. And like, it's like you meet these people on your, like, you know, it was just 3.1 miles. It's like a very short distance, but for me, it felt long. You meet so many people like while you're just going through and everyone's so positive and cheering each other on. I was like, I really like this like community of like people. And then you go to the point at the end and everyone's like celebrating what they just did. And then like I had a couple friends that were doing like the relay and the half marathon, and I think one person I knew did the full one. And you know, and that looked like an even bigger celebration. And then yeah, so I just went from there. I just signed up for the Mario Lemieux 6.6K, which is it's a mile more than a 5K.
Gotcha. Okay.
But like, you know, being a Pittsburgh sports fan, I figured that'd be a really fun one to do. And then I was talking to my cousin who I run with a lot, and I said, hey, do you want to try the relay next year? Like, you know, because it's like, I think it's like 4 to 5 miles.
Yeah, I was gonna say probably 6, maybe. Depends on your size of your team, maybe. I'm not really sure how the relay works.
And then she's like, I don't know, I was thinking about doing the half. So I texted Will. I said, hey, do you think I could do the half? And you were like, you know, you responded. You were just like, you know, if you start working, it's realistic. So I just sent a screenshot. I registered for the half marathon.
Oh, nice.
So yeah,
Hell yeah.
I've never done more than a 5K right now. I mean, I did the 5K plus a walk back to the car.
Yeah.
So it's probably 5 miles. But like,
So you have from now till May.
yeah.
Oh, that's very doable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like just the idea of like a half marathon and like marathon too, I just categorize them together. I know they're a big distance difference, but to me, they're both so far away for like how to run. So I was like, you know what? Like,
That's awesome.
let's just try it. Let's send it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I sent back the screenshot of my registration and she just goes, what? I said, Will said I could do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I wanted to ask you, like, you know, at the very beginning, like, did you ever think that you'd be signing up for a half marathon after a year?
I wouldn't, you couldn't have told me a year ago I'd be running a mile.
Yeah.
You know, I hated running.
Yeah.
You know, some days I still do, but like, it's rewarding. Like just the feeling after, that's like what you chase, like and the fact, like in the moment you realize, like I started running, like not a lot of people will do this. Like, you know, it's like it's the fact of just starting it. Mm-hmm. So, and I live right across the street from a park, which is very beneficial to the training too. So
Yeah.
I hate treadmills. Like it's just,
Yeah.
They're like not like complicated. They're very simple, but they're complicated how much they can mess up like actual running. And I found that out because I was using it for training for a while. Very deliberate stuff, like just very methodical. And I found I wasn't like legitimately not as good at running outside. And I was like, what was the deal with this treadmill throwing off my running ability? Like it shouldn't, but it was. So I use it sparingly. I mean, I will mostly like, I'll use it mostly when the weather is really bad. Like when I trained for the marathon, I was like, this is a long run day and it's literally a blizzard. And I ran in one blizzard and I came home and I'm like, that sucked. Not doing that again. So it snowed all week and I'm like, we're doing the treadmill for 6 miles. And I was like, whatever. And it wasn't that painful, but it's not I don't think it's a primary mode for people that like are running a lot. I think it's like, I don't know. What's your take on them?
No, I agree. I mean,
mechanically, something's off when you run on them too much.
no,
you know?
it's
natural. I feel like.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's unrealistic to maintain like the same exact pace for that that long. I mean, yeah, you will, you know, you can maintain a pace, but to be the exact same, like that belt is moving the exact same pace. Mm-hmm. I think and also like there's such a huge difference between being outside and then being on a treadmill. Like being outside is just, I mean, like you get the sunshine, like you're just, people don't get outside ever anyway. You know, like if you can get outside, do it because you're going to feel way better. But like with me mentally, I don't think I've ever done more than 2 miles on a treadmill.
I've done a lot of training for walking, for rucking. Yeah. So I spent a lot of time, and I would say like if you're walking, I would say treadmills are fine because there's a lot of
for sure
benefit in just like, hey, like getting more steps in, and like if you're limited to that, walking is fantastic for it. But if you had to actually train running, that's not great. But so like I've walked on one for 3 hours. It's brutal.
Yeah.
I've done that a more than a couple times.
The ruck too. Yeah.
Yep.
You get to change the scenery outside too, which like being on a treadmill, you're just looking at whatever you're looking at for.
Yeah. Well, the training I was doing, like I put it on a, I don't know what's it called, like interval, and it would go up and down and all this. And then I watched a movie, and I watched like Inglourious Basterds. It's like 2 hours, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I watched the whole thing, and then I still had 20 minutes left, and I was beyond bored. It was just like, it was just monotonous. I just zoned into that movie so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like if you're at like a gym and you go on the treadmill and they have all their TVs, I don't know who picks the channels at gym.
They suck.
It's like
The brutal.
what do you get? You get news, like some soap operas, sometimes food shows. It's like, well, first off, food shows at a gym does not make sense.
Yeah.
But like also just like going outside too, like you get all the difference in the natural hills. Like I didn't realize when I did the 5K in Pittsburgh, I thought Pittsburgh was really flat. It's not.
No.
Oh, brother.
It'll catch you.
The full marathon is brutal. Like most people, if they run this marathon, they don't use it as one that like goes towards a score for Boston, because it's just hard because of the hills. Because the full will continue going from, where is it? From Southside area. It'll just continue into the hills through like Squirrel Hill and Shady Side area further. Yeah. And you hit hills and hills and hills. And for like qualifying timeage, it's like horrible for people.
Yeah.
It's a gut check, probably. I mean, to hit those hills.
5K, we ran like in the north side, like around, I think, Allegheny Commons.
Yeah.
I thought that was so flat until like I walked it like and ran it. I was like, oh, because I drove through there a bunch.
Yep.
I never thought of any, because I like to drive I like driving the route beforehand just to see what like I'm looking at here, and like I'll probably look at the half route too soon. But like, because I've been looking at it on my phone all the time just to
Mentally prepare. Yeah.
The half route's good. It has a couple hills over the bridges. The hill where it splits from the half and the full, and you'll see, I can't remember which bridge it is, but that's like your last little hill. And then it's a straight shot to downtown. And it seems endless, but that last hill going up and over, I remember that one like crushing me a little bit. I was like, it's just enough of an incline at mile marker, like I want to say 9, that you're like, oh man, this is brutal.
I heard there's like, I think with the full, when you're at like mile 14 or something, and then you hit the Birmingham Bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Birmingham Bridge is a long hill, and then you get off of that and have to go into Oakland, up Forbes or whatever, and like that's also a steep hill, and you're already 14 miles in.
Yeah, because most people I saw when I was taking photos the last 2 years, I was at mile 18, and everybody said, dude, right when you were seeing me was when it really settled in, because we just hit like some of the biggest hills. And at my mileage for a marathon, mile 18 to 20 is like where most people like really starts digging into like how hard it's going to be. But then after the hills, they also had, so I'd see people when they're really hurting typically. But then it's all kind of downhill that last 6 that they had.
Even like the race for the Cure, I did the 10K last year, and you start in Squirrel Hill over by Homewood Cemetery, and it starts with a hill, and then you're going downhill like through Squirrel Hill. It's downhill for a long time. You get down through Oakland, down Fifth Ave, and then onto the boulevard going up to Duquesne. Like that's a hill. I didn't even know. Like that is a steady incline until you get to the top of that, and that's halfway through. And then after that, you're on a downhill. But still, like I thought the same thing. Like I was like, I never would have known the boulevard was a hill.
Yeah, and like those bridges are killer too. Like,
they are,
because you cross the Clemente, and like I've like walked across it before and like didn't think anything of it. And then like when I was running across it, I was like, this is tough.
Yeah, it has like a little like peak at the top.
Yeah, I forgot that's how bridges work.
Yeah, it's true.
They have to go up and down.
Yeah,
but when you're driving on it, doesn't.
No, you don't even notice. And to go back to the 5K at in Boston, Little Boston. That's in the Occoganee River.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the bike trail, the Greater Allegheny Passage. Like if you continued on that past Kennywood, past McKeesport, like you would end up on this stretch of the trail that we ran.
Okay.
And it's awesome. Like I mean, over the years, like I would just take my bike there and ride. Like you can end up in West Newton, out going towards Connellsville. Like it's a nice stretch of trail, and it's mostly, I mean, that stretch is flat pretty much the whole way. But I remember going into that, and I remember I said to you, I was like, I'm gonna go, but then I'll come back and find you. And I did not know that trail that race was going to go up and turn around, because that was the whole thing I was thinking the whole time. I was like, how am I going to run 3 miles away from my car and then have to walk all the way back? That makes no sense. But then you ran down, a mile and a half, there's a cone, and you turn around and come back. And I I won my age group accidentally. I thought I ran like a 24-minute 5K. Like, it was not fast, but like they called my name at the end. I was like, what the, like, how did I win this?
Yeah, and the people we were with that I knew, they were like, they called you, and you were like,
yeah, I was like, no,
you thought they were messing with.
Yeah, it was somebody else. But I remember I finished, and I was hurting. My legs were cramping up, and then I just turned around and walked back. And I think I caught you like with a mile to go, maybe, and then we ran it together. And I said to him, I was like, it doesn't matter what your pace is, but we just got to finish this strong, And so I was like, you want to walk, you can walk, but we got to run through the finish line. And yeah, I remember like approaching that finish line, and like all your cousin, your friends are there, and like everyone's getting so rowdy. And like that was sick. Like the pictures are so sick from from finishing that 5K. And so it's half marathon's gonna be cool.
Yeah,
it's gonna be awesome.
That mile when you caught me, dude, like that was like I was struggling at that point. And then whenever I saw you, I was like, all right, gotta
get going,
gotta kick it, because I didn't know if you were gonna come back or not. Like I knew you talked about it, but I was like, I didn't know, like, with the timing and stuff, like how that would work with everything. So, but yeah, that was, that was a great way to end.
Yeah, that was awesome. So, I mean, at this point, like, we talked about the half marathon, which, I mean, we've got, what is it?
9 months.
9 months to go. Yeah, for that. So that's plenty of time. But, we're talking about your goals now. And like, we had the overarching goal in the beginning, but that wasn't ever really the only one, because we broke it down into increments, and so now being where we are, hitting that ultimate goal for year one, how have the goals changed?
So yeah, instead of like, this time next year, we haven't discussed like a specific weight, because I do like doing, like, whenever we were going like 10 to 20 pounds at a time throughout the year, but 299 was always the main target. And like, we're kind of similarly doing this right now. I have, so back to when I was in high school, I lost 60 pounds in high school, and I got this tattoo. It says 288, because that was my highest in high school. I was 288. You know how stupid it is having a 288 tattoo when you weigh 296? So this right now is the next goal, right now, like that's very close. Like, so I was like, once I get that, I'll cover it up or do something there. But like, till then, it's staring at me as a reminder, like, so, but like, we have like some other goals, like 280 and stuff. And then like, I was telling you during our break, I said, my doctor was like, can you be at like 250 a year from now? And I was like, I'm going to be at 249 because you said 250.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to one up you and do an extra pound. So I don't know, maybe that will be, but like, I've had a lot more fun now, like working on these running goals recently. Like, it's just a nice change. Cause like looking at the scale, like all the time, and it's a bad habit, but I look at the scale every day. And like more recently, it has been just really fun and addicting. But then there's like, the weeks where you're like fluctuating and not like thinking you're making progress, but that number makes you think you're not sometimes.
Right.
Like right now, like it was like a month ago, I think I stayed at 306 for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I told you, I was like, even though like the number's not moving, like I feel stronger than ever. I was hitting some PRs and stuff, just like lifting. So I wasn't like, I wasn't taken back by like not moving the scale anymore. So I'm trying to look at it less, I swear. But I'm going to weigh myself when I get home too.
Okay.
But yeah, like I like looking at these other goals, just like with running and just like just lifting heavier weights, which I have a home gym, so I'm trying to be slow with my lifting heavy weights, because if I start maxing out, I'm gonna have to buy more weights. So I'm trying to not do that right away.
Yeah.
So
that's why we're hitting crunch.
Yeah, that's why join crunch. So like if I get past, I think I can do like 300 pounds with all my stuff at home. So if I get to 301, I have to go to crunch to PR.
Yeah. I've done that. I mean, I haven't gone to a commercial gym like that, but I borrowed weights from somebody one time when I was maxing out my deadlift, because my home gym, I only had 400, and then I had to go get 25 from somebody else so I could get 410 or something like that.
And like doing the home gym too, like that has been a significant step for me too. Like, I got a house a year ago, and there was this room in the basement. It was like, it's called like a fruit cellar or something. It's like just a spare room. It's like a garage, but it's not a garage. So I was like, all right, I'm going to put a little gym in here. And I took a couple $100 on Facebook Marketplace, got some dumbbells. I got some killer deals on Facebook Marketplace with like a Smith machine, Olympic weights, dumbbells. And like, I sent it to Will, and he's like, you have like everything you need. And then like, you know, I've been making upgrades along the way and stuff, but like, you know, sometimes going 10, 15 minutes away to a gym is also part of the struggle of getting up and working out. But it's like, I literally have to walk downstairs to go to the gym. So it's like, if I don't want to walk downstairs to go to the gym, that's a problem.
Yeah.
So what would you say to somebody that, you know, maybe is thinking about getting started with something like this, and maybe they're like hesitant, whether that's just in general or like even with Martial Fitness?
Like just like how to go about starting.
Yeah, I mean, well, like not like logistically like reaching out to me, but someone that's maybe like on the fence, like they're unsure if they can do it or they're unsure if it's going to work or like things like that.
So one of the things that I feel like I do a lot of my own homework too while we do a lot of these things. Like one of the things I actually did, you know, I'm real big into how the social media algorithms work. Mm-hmm. So like on my I go on Instagram Reels, I'll just scroll it for like 2 hours some days. And like, I feel like just most people
we all
in our age group do. And it's like, you know, you can't have shame about it. It's just, that's a common thing.
That's the life we live now.
What I did was like, you know, instead of following accounts like drunk people doing things, which I still do follow. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I started following more fitness accounts, and like my algorithm is mostly fitness related things.
Yeah.
And like, you know, you do get a lot of like, I'll send you stuff on Instagram all the time and I'll be like, this looks cool. And then sometimes like there is a lot of misinformation out there. Mm-hmm. So like, you know, I kind of like, I'll send you something. I'll be like, this doesn't seem right. And you'll be like, no, it's not. Or sometimes it is. But like, you know, it's just all like, if you can really, if you want to put in your own homework, you can really, there is a lot of information out there online. And like, I mean, if you follow Will on Instagram, he gives you a lot of great information for free.
Employee of the month.
Yeah,
again.
Every month.
It's he's undefeated.
4 years straight.
I'd love to see that trophy wall.
It's a whole room in my house.
Yeah, but no, like, I mean, like, you know, following you, like, you know, you get an idea of like, you know, you do give a lot of freebies out there for good information, and also your content's funny too.
Thank you.
But no, like, and then, you know, you can, when you follow someone, you see people similar, and then like, you know, you can follow those people, stuff like that. And then you know, you kind of figure out who you like and who you don't like, and just looking into different fitness things. Like I started following like a lot of CrossFit people. I started following like the World's Strongest Man people, like every sport. Like I always follow everything and see if I get interest in it. So
yeah. I mean, at this point, I think, you know, where can people find you if they want to continue to be inspired by your journey?
So one of my goals this year is to post more about my fitness journey. So I mean, on Instagram, my name's just Ian Gilbert, but the Gilbert is spelled Burrt. Just spelled it a little differently. How it's actually. You can follow me if you follow Will. We have a post together, and you know, I'm sure you can tag me on your podcast account or something.
Oh, we will.
But, like it's. Yeah, I'm going to try. I have some ideas in the making that I want to start posting. So, you know, I just recently cleared the feed one to make it a very positive, like fitness oriented.
Nice.
And see what happens here.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm excited to see that. I think kind of like what we had talked about. There'll be, I mean, you'll speak to people that you'll never meet, and you'll speak to people that will never talk to you, but you might change lives.
Yeah. And like, you know, today is a big step. Like, you know, I never would have thought I'd be on like a podcast or anything. Like in a way, it's like getting out of a comfort zone too. Like, I mean, like, you know, we were talking about like, you were telling me ahead of time, like how it just flies through when you do these. And like, you know, it's been a blast, like just talking. And like, I love talking to people about it. Like, you know, when people reach out to me, I love that. Like, I feel like Will's given me a lot of knowledge, and also I love, you know, refer people to Will too if needed any further. Mm-hmm. But
nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Awesome. Well, I mean, this has been awesome. I mean, thanks for coming on. Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's a huge testament to all the work you've put in, and it's gonna make a great Martial Fitness ad.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. So
all about the marketing.
All it is. Everything's marketing.
That was one of the first things I told him. I said at my beginning to end transformation, when we're all done, I said, you're gonna have the sickest billboard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, dude. Again, thanks for coming on. This has been awesome.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, dude.
It's been great.
Yeah.